call the work session of the Planning Commission to order on September 1st, 2009. And so that's item 1 of the agenda. Item 2, discussion of the Superior Municipal Code, Chapter 16 Land Use Code. And I think we're planning to review Article 6. Is that right?
Yep.
You want to go through a presentation first, or you want to dive right in?
Okay, I'll give it a shot here. Well, you have gotten in the mail or delivered what we call the quote-unquote compare document, which basically shows the existing language and then new language that's been inserted from some other place or new language, period. Okay, so that would be, in red. Matt has put together a memorandum that lists, starting basically from the beginning of Article 6 to the end, the changes, that have been made. So we're kind of in red in the document as well as on Matt's list. So what we want to do is to go through this article, look at those, discuss them. And some of the changes that Matt has listed, you may want to decide to put aside. We talked about that last time. I'll put them aside to be then put together in a separate ordinance, or maybe several separate ordinances while we plow through the rest of it, that would sort of go through a review and approval process on their own. So we need to get consensus, I believe, on which one of these in the list we want to do that.
The list of items 1 through 27?
Yes.
Right.
And so one of the things that, just in terms of introduction, is that you'll notice that when, for example, district was removed from the list chart, let's say, that created the chart, that caused the chart to become all red. For example, in terms of commercial mixed-use districts, it became all red. But that doesn't mean that everything in that chart has changed. So that's sort of one of the downsides of trying to do what we can to show what's new and what's not, is that the mechanism made that all turn red. So we have to kind of look at the use chart, individually. If there are changes there, we've noted those within the chart itself. Okay, we'll just have to discuss those.
When the attorneys made their revisions, they reformatted those charts, and that's why they appear
red.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Now, I don't know if anybody brought their existing code with them.
I've got it online.
Okay.
I'm
not sure.
I've been going through the charts in detail.
Yeah.
They're not noted. I mean, I've noted a bunch of stuff that's different from what's online.
From the list, you mean? Yeah, well, that's fine.
Can you describe what those are?
There's a lot.
Well, do we want to go through these kind of article by?
Yeah, I would say you probably.
Went through 27.
I checked through each chart. I got all the way through residential. I mean, a lot is relative. I mean, there are a number of,
Right.
and I don't know that they're a problem or not. They're just different. I just want to understand why they're different.
Right.
That's all.
There's, I think in Matt's list, now I don't know, my copy of the code, the existing code, the page numbering is a little different, but I have a codified version, and I don't know if the existing code that everyone else looks at is online, has a different page numbering system, but
It's been pretty easy to follow, at least up through where I've gotten so far. I mean,
Okay.
Comparatively, it's and there's some references to things that are, obviously the numbers have changed. And,
right.
but,
Okay. All right, so what we ought to do then is then, start off with start at the beginning then, and we've done this article before. We did it, I think, at the last substantive meeting we had about the actual code itself. rather than just the process, discussion of the process. So I'm trying to keep out my notes from that, so we can bring those back up again if
Right.
somebody else
I guess
on the board here doesn't.
I'm inclined to go through these and either pull aside things we want to revisit for things like Bob's talking about,
So,
potentially, and/or things that are, content related or, material changes to the code, like for instance, the lot coverage, right?
Right, that's one of them.
We can choose to cover that or not, because we may just choose to skip that since there's a current request from Mr. Kuffner to handle that in the current code, and so it may become a moot point down the road, right? So, I think we take these one by one, decide which ones we want to pull aside, which ones we're fine with, and move on, so we sort of shorten this list down to stuff we really want to talk about. Right.
so we plan on, per the planning commission's direction, the ones that you determine you want to pull and set aside for a future date for consideration.
Well, we may discuss them tonight.
Right.
And decide some course of action, either,
Right.
yes, we should do this, or no, this should definitely get public comment, it should go into the public hearing.
Correct.
It should be a focus of the public hearing or something.
And we will keep a separate list of those items that you want to
Right.
discuss. At a
Okay.
public hearing.
Does that sound like a reasonable strategy?
All right,
Okay.
so,
So
do
you
you want
want-
me to, honey, do you want me to do this, or do you want to go, John, do you want to go down subsection by subsection? or-
Yeah, sure.
Huh?
Sure. I'll do it.
Go ahead.
Okay. Item 1, revised Article 6 consolidates Article 7, the zoning map, page 16-71, and Article 8, zoning districts, page 16-72 of the current code into one article.
Right, and just for reference, my codified existing code says page 16-56 and 16-56A. But I just don't know how it's set up. Others have that, but I'm not sure it's...
Well, I don't think the map doesn't appear in the existing code that way.
If the
It's not on
existing
page,
code-
not 16-71, right? Or am I looking the wrong, oh, maybe I am.
Right. See, I
Maybe
have the zoning map. It starts off, zoning map, the first one here on page 40 of your compare document.
Yep.
The main one. 16-6-10 says zoning map. That bugger sits at page 16-56 in the old code as an example. Matt had, I think, 71. I mean, that's my numbering system on my codified
Okay.
version. That's all I know. So there may be there may be some different page number. I'm not sure all of that, going back to the old code page numbers is important unless we have a point to do it, and then we'll make sure we find the right place.
Yeah, I'm not so concerned about
In the old
that,
code.
I don't think.
Okay.
As just the reference itself.
Right. All right. So you're starting here on page 40, John,
Yep.
of the new one. Okay.
Oh. Right.
Is that where we left off last time? Is that what
Yep, we finished up, I think, Article 5, and now we're on Article 6, which starts on page 40, 16-6-10 zoning map. There should be a map designated, okay. So this is only references the description of the zoning map itself, not the map.
Right. Correct.
Got it, okay. Good. Okay? Are we good with that? Mm-hmm. Okay. Item 2, the first 3 sections of the revised Article 6 are Article 7 of the current code, pages 16-71 to 72. Okay, so we've taken these first 3 pages, the first 3 sections.
The old code.
Of the old code.
Right.
were pulled from Article 7.
I got it, okay. Yep. Okay.
That takes you down through 16-630.
Bob, do you have the the revised code? The actual draft of the revised?
The actual draft
Yeah.
of the, I don't.
That's this, right?
This isn't the.
This is the
actual-
compare
this is the
document.
compare document.
Right?
I didn't bring the actual draft.
Yeah, and I should have brought it too.
Yeah.
I forgot. I have it in a binder sitting at home.
Yeah.
We can pull it up electronically if you want.
Do we want to look at it?
I think that would be good. 'Cause
Yeah, let's pull it
I
up.
think we ought to pull it up if we can. Because Bob doesn't have his, right? Bob?
Yeah, he's got the original.
I've got the
code.
original code up.
We have
I
the
don't
original
have
code, the
the
compare document, and the new code.
The draft, and we need to make sure that the draft matches the.
The description here.
Right.
Right.
And you're looking for the revised?
This one. Let's compare it.
So this is essentially 16-7-10, 16-7-20, and 16-7-30.
You're looking for the current code, right? That's what you want to pull up?
No.
No, we want you to pull up the
Pull
new,
up this one
the
here,
new,
compare document.
new draft version.
Let's see.
You're still. Hold it, you're too far.
No.
Almost there.
49. Does this not have, how come this one doesn't have the red stuff on it?
Because
Oh,
it's
this is not-
comparing.
All right.
So this says, I'm sorry, the first three sections of the revised Article 6 are Article 7 of the current code. And so those would be initiation of zoning changes, submittal requirements, and procedure. If I'm reading this right. So are you pulling up the existing code?
Right.
Well, okay.
You want to see the language from the existing code, right?
Well, I'm looking at the compare document.
Oh, okay.
So hopefully, it should be the same.
So this is the revised that you originally received, right here.
Right.
Is that the same as this one?
But-
We were already off on our numbering.
You're saying that the first three sections of the revised Article 6 are Article 7 of the current code with no significant changes. But I don't see those three particular sections here in the new code.
Well, that's why I was pulling up the current code.
Okay.
Yeah. You can see those.
Well, the text is here in the compare document, isn't it?
Okay.
Did you want to see Article 7?
Yeah, we want to look. Yeah, we want to look at. You can go to Article 7.
To see if there's any significant changes.
So go to.
Code, right?
You can go to Article 7.
Right.
Okay, now this gets back to what Jeff said. For example, official zoning map's got 3 paragraphs. In the compare document, where he trimmed that down to 1.
Right.
Okay?
Okay, I'm confused, but okay,
Interpretation,
got it. Amendments to the official zoning map.
okay, you got 5 points there.
Yep, I got it up here too, yeah.
Okay, now go to the new code.
So no significant changes, but certainly pared down.
Well, on that first one, the question is, do we agree that trimming it down from 3 paragraphs to 1 is...
You know, I can, you know, on that one, it's sort of like, that was an editing task done by the attorney.
Okay.
And to be quite frank, they just determined it was superfluous.
Yeah, there's a lot of language in there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I,
And they do the title of the, and one says now just says interpretation, which would indicate that's interpretation of zone districts because it's a section under the article zone districts. Right. In the original code, it was interpretations of the zoning map. Is it truly an interpretation of the zone districts, or is it an interpretation of the zoning map?
Well,
of the old code?
item 4 specifically talks about the boundary of zone districts of the new code.
Okay.
if you think that's too curt, we could just go back to the other title head.
Because the paragraph...
Because it is an
paragraph does
interpretation
say-
of the zoning district.
I don't mind current as long as it's accurate. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if this means to be an interpretation of the zone districts, Article 6,
Right.
zone districts, or is it an interpretation of the zoning map, which is what,
I think it's own map.
So now, because it talks about
Yeah.
boundaries and other
talking about
physical
map,
things on
yes.
the map.
So it probably should say map.
I would say that
Yeah.
should probably stay interpretation of the zoning map.
Okay. That's fine.
Okay.
And again, that's probably the same with 16-163. Are we talking about amendments to the zoning map or amendments to zone districts?
Should be amendments.
Say that again.
So
to-
six- so
16,
Zoning map.
16630.
the new code 16630 should probably be, it should be amendments to the zoning map.
Correct.
Refer to zoning map all the way through it.
Is that what it says down there? Go to 16630.
Drop down.
Amendments to accomplish using the procedures that apply to other amendments to this chapter set forth in 16. Okay, so that's essentially the same.
What they did was they made this article zone.
Yep.
Then they started off with the map, and then they got 3 sections underneath the map. So adding this is correct because it's clearer.
Got it. Okay.
And then 16640 residential districts, that's new to the code, that's not in the old code, is that?
And residential districts is identified under 16640. And what she's saying
If
is
you went back to the new one,
So that's item number 3 in the memo.
they added item 7, residential character street.
right,
Right.
that was in the code, but it wasn't in the list, and this never in the old code, it just was,
It should have been added to the list.
should have been
before.
added, but it never was.
It's not a new definition.
RCS,
Well, what
right.
about this whole section? Why don't I see that?
It's Article 8?
It's in Article 8. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I got it, I'm sorry. All right. Got it, okay.
And what they did is, in Article 8, they listed it and then they described them, okay? They took that out of here. The attorneys took that out of there.
Can I say that again?
It took the description, it's
They
just
took
a
the
list.
description.
Just a list, right?
7 lists, rather than a list with a
Description?
following description.
How do you feel about that?
Where are they described, or are they not?
Well, in the old code, they're described in Article 8, starting off with Article 8.
In the new code, are they described?
New code,
Are they described at all in
I
the
don't
new
think
code?
they're described, right? They're not described. Well, some are and some aren't.
Do we know the reason that was changed?
My feeling is the attorney felt it was redundant. That the districts themselves were described by the uses in the district and the requirements for the districts.
Well, is there usefulness to having a description, though, for people referencing the land use code?
I think or it should reference it somewhere, because I personally don't know what an estate residential district is. I mean, low density, a lot of these make sense just by reading the title, but the state residential district doesn't mean much to me.
Well, it's defined in the chart.
By the uses.
Right.
Okay.
And the setbacks, height requirements.
Visual requirements.
Right, exactly.
Kind of comes down to who's reading the document and who's the target audience for this document. I mean, if you're,
I see, okay, so it's described under the
So-
schedule of uses.
Yeah, you just go down and see what
Fine
clause.
with this.
Okay.
So you turn another page, and you're there.
Got it. Okay. That's fine, by me.
Okay.
Okay.
oh yeah, okay.
Okay, so are we good at number 3?
Never mind.
Well, there's a second part to number 3.
Right.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Under the commercial districts, the town center business, I guess I should read this whole thing. So section 16.6-40 of the revised Article 6 starts with Article 8, zoning districts, page 16-72 of the current code. Under residential districts, the residential district of Residential Character Street, RCS, has been added to the list. This is not new, not a new district, but it was not included in the list of current code and needs to be added. Under commercial districts, the town center business district, B-TC, has been deleted. There are no properties in town with B-TC zoning. Any future town center development will be planned development using a mixed-use district as a basis of a PD, using a mixed-use district as a basis for requirements, right? So,
What was the intent of that? I know we talked about it, yeah.
The BTC.
You know, like, why did we have
Well,
it?
that was before we got into a much more in-depth discussion of that area over there. The idea was set up years ago as a possible zone district for developers over there to start from, to use. But as over time, the towns thinking about that area, and then they went through that whole visioning process a couple times, and so it evolved so that the town wants to see a PD there. They've got a vision now of a town center there. The whole idea of having you're not going to have another town center somewhere else. I mean, this town's going to have one town center. So the district became redundant.
And in addition to that, there's numerous, like the annexation agreement, there's an annexation agreement, then we have an IGA with the city of Louisville that all have specific requirements for any development that happens over there, so. As far as amount of commercial, how many residential you can have.
traditionally, you would see like a BTC type of district because you might allow different densities or different uses or something than you might in some other, even mixed-use, right, development. You might have parking requirements that are different than you'd otherwise like to see because you're trying to achieve a town center kind of feel, right? Like is that Fair.
Pretty much, yeah. that's-
So are we good with that?
Can you give me just a half a second here?
Sure.
And I apologize because I missed this section. So the description of the commercial districts, we talked about turning the pages, the description of the commercial districts is there. Or is it?
No,
But descriptions of the residential districts, those descriptions are gone, right? We're okay with that? They're just gone?
yep.
I heard somebody say, no, there they are, but no,
Well,
they're not.
they're not there, but the use, they are described in the chart, the schedule of uses,
Sure.
as to what things are allowed or not allowed.
Correct.
And in addition,
That's always been there. I mean, we are removing so I do want to finish what I was saying then, because I thought when I heard that they were there, and then I just misread it. So I think it depends on the target audience who's looking at this. And so I think somebody who's looking at this from the standpoint of, I'm going to build and I need to understand exactly what I can and can't do, the chart works really well. Somebody who's just trying to understand, I mean, a resident, I think, who's trying to just understand what a zone is, a paragraph is really nice. I mean, if somebody moves into town and is able to look at that page in Lancaster, all their questions will probably be answered on that descriptive page. Otherwise, they got to sit and they got to go through that chart, they got to understand what P's and X's and C's and S's are, and they got to understand what conditional use is versus
Special uses.
special use, and it just seems like it's all very confusing to me, so I would...
That's why I asked the question.
Yeah, and that...
Should there be a description in the zone district?
Yeah, so I want to go back and say, yeah, I think,
You think there should be?
misunderstood what was being said earlier, and I really think having that description is very nice. I think it's a useful tool. Yes, I agree it's redundant. Absolutely agree with you, it's redundant, but it's presenting the information in a different way for somebody who's not really interested in, the exact use.
You just want a general introduction to
Yeah,
clarity.
what is a residential district,
What
what
is-
is a state district, what is, so
I don't know that you can do that just generally without being more specific. I mean, then somebody looks at a general description and comes away with assumptions without looking at the chart and coming out with a
Well, that's-
with a precise interpretation.
Is that one of the questions, is that by doing that, then you potentially have conflicts within the code because you could change the use, but you don't change the general.
That's why I asked why the attorney did it, and
Right.
that's why I was frustrated continually. We don't have the answer, we have what I think he did, and we don't have what he did and why he did it. So
and
if the attorney tells us that, no, that's a problem, then I got to go on. I mean, but,
Well, and the thing is, this is one of those items we could just pull now
Yeah.
and throw it in the attorney's question pile and move on.
yeah, I would say let's do that. I'd like to know why this, if there was
I
a legal
think-
reason it was taken out, that's fine. If there's not, and it's
So it was
okay.
either a legal reason or it was just let's shorten things up. here.
Make it shorter and sweeter.
Yeah, right.
Okay, I'm fine with that. I am fine taking something like this because we're not going to just, as you say, we could sit here and debate it all night, but
Right.
without the attorney, we don't know. So let's put it in his court, in the bucket that goes to the attorney, the questions for the attorney, right?
Yep.
Okay. Because I don't want to skim over something just to skim over it. All right.
No,
I'd
agreed.
rather have us have a more in-depth discussion, so, okay. Moving on, item 4, requirements for the planned development districts are now covered in Article 10, page 16-73 of the current code. That's right.
So we'll get to that.
Right in Article 10,
Right.
right.
Yeah, in other words...
So we've taken it out of Article 6
taken
and
out of
we're
our-
going to handle it in Article 10.
Right, it's its own article.
Fine and dandy. So when you're describing this in Article 10, when you're giving us our packet, you're going to say, by the way, we yanked this from Article 6.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
And we agreed we would discuss it in Article 10.
that's it.
Right.
Okay, all right, are we good with that? Item 5, the Overlay Airport District O-A and Overlay Environmental Constraints District O-EC are not needed and have been removed. Page 42 of comparison document.
Can you just briefly describe why? I think I know, but just...
Best I can do is, on the airport overlay district, the only the idea there was to have done something in the absence of Rock Creek in an area that we would have, call it an area of areas of special interest, and you could develop, that district would potentially overlay the area where Rock Creek is, for example, because it's near the airport. And there we would have developed special regulations that would apply to that general area. Well, Rock Creek itself now has an navigation easement over it, and it's basically been done, that has been done for us. And everybody in Rock Creek needs to know that they're in a navigation easement. And so the airport doesn't really apply to anything else beyond that general area. So there was no point in having it anymore. This is an old district that was in the code, but it was never used. It was never used, and it's never going to be used. So there's no point in keeping it there.
Is there an agreement that different kinds of planes can't be allowed in the future at that airport?
There's restrictions on large commercial passenger carriers are restricted from operating out of that airport.
Large?
Yeah.
Or just commercial carriers?
No, there's some commercial
You can do the
Commuters.
jumper planes.
Yeah, private.
commuters.
Those are, but I mean, could Frontier Express start operating out of there if they wanted to,
No.
with a smaller plane, a 20-passenger plane or?
There's an airline that flies out of there that does some commercial transportation, small.
It's
Small.
limited to the
Commercial.
number of passengers and the
Right.
size of the plane. And those are both via FAA.
Right, and this isn't to protect us in any way anyway, right? So it's just understood, okay.
And it indicates that this is page 1670, is that section 16-76 of the current code? Is that what that is? Because that doesn't, well, at least in what's online, 1670 to 1680 is reserved. So at least the code is
Well,
online.
It's page 16.
Well, there are no
in here,
there are no pages on the land use code that's up online. There are no page numbers. They're all done by sections.
Oh, yeah, done by section.
So what section are we talking about here?
It says 16-76.
So, let's see.
And could I ask in the future, since the online version has no page numbers, that we
Reference those.
reference the section? Would that be?
Sure.
You don't have to change it, but just going
Yeah.
forward with it.
So here they are, right here.
Okay, so
Okay.
they overlay
Mhm. 16-188.
minimize it for the residential and the
Sections. Yeah,
61.
that's confusing, yeah. Okay. All right, so, just so we can look at what we're, just so we can.
So overlay environmental constraints district is established to identify areas of natural or man-made hazards such as steep slopes or ground subsidence and wildlife potential, or areas of unique environmental features or visual resources such as wildlife areas or ridgelines, where additional study and design features are needed to mitigate the hazard of the visual effects of development. The requirements of the OE district are discussed in Article 14 through 41. All right, yeah, 41. So,
51, isn't L at 50?
61. No, XL, right? No, yeah, it's 10 minus 50 is 40, plus 1 is 41,
10
right?
minus, okay.
Right, so, my question there is, that seems like sort of a significant zone district.
We've never used it.
With any new development, they're required to give us an environmental impact report, which would identify those areas that either need to be mitigated or protected within the development.
And
If the town, well, go ahead.
so how are we, well,
Well, if we had a lot of raw land around, and for instance, we were concerned about some of these areas, the town, could do some proactive work and decide this area is sensitive, okay?
We have
Then
a,
a developer comes along and we say, well, at that point, you could zone it such this overlay district, but they would have to comply with X number of regulations, or point out to the developer they need to deal with it. But we've never used it, never had to use it.
what's the status of the Highway 128 property? Of the
Status, still owned privately,
It's still for sale?
still for sale.
I mean, it's just a significant ridgeline property in town. I'm just trying to think where this potentially could apply somewhere, and do we want to scrap it?
You're saying if we did scrap
Well-
it, they would still have to do all of this stuff?
Yes, but in addition to that, that piece of property is in the Rock Creek Ranch PUD, and already has a land designation within that land unit development.
For commercial? Zone commercial, right? And I guess if it was purchased as open space, it would then be zoned as open space.
Correct.
Right. And you still wouldn't need this. Is that what you're trying to tell me? I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking of okay, what would happen if it was purchased by the Nature Conservancy? Would you then have to zone it an overlay environmental constraint district or something, as opposed to if it was a privately held reserve or something? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Well, the question would be at that point, okay, where is it, what's its current zoning under Rock Creek, for example? If it's not what they want, in other words, they want this for open space,
Yeah.
well, the suggestion would be, well, we need to do a PD amendment under the Rock Creek rules and zone it open space.
Okay. So you still don't need it.
Right.
Okay. Because it's already governed under the PD.
Yeah.
PD.
Well, you have a mechanism to deal with it under the PD.
Right.
And what the
Do
town
we
has
wanna-
done, what the town has done with the land that they bought as open space,
Uh-huh.
they've turned around and zoned it open space under in that zone district in our code, open space.
Right. Okay. So
So that took care of it.
we've never used it.
I have no problem with it.
I don't know.
All I've been
Bob.
covered with the specific property.
I have no comments on it. Okay. Well, all right.
Okay.
Let it go. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it go. Okay.
Let that do.
Let's see. Item 6, scheduled uses. Residential use of recreational vehicles used as living quarters in RMH was changed from a permitted use to a prohibited use. It was felt that this is not appropriate use in a residential zone. I would agree. But I do think that this is something that should have public comment.
Is it in the code can they come and get a temporary permit? Let's say you're having your house totally remodeled and it's going to take 3 months. And could you live in a recreational vehicle on your property that's in more original town, I'm thinking, than Rock Creek,
Rock
because
Creek
there's
wouldn't
really
allow
no
it.
place.
Rock Creek wouldn't allow it anyway, but
No.
So there's no mechanism to say get a permit to live on your
Not
property
currently.
in an RV for a month while your house is being. Okay.
you're better off begging for forgiveness than asking for permission.
Yeah.
Right.
So I figured, that's what I figured. Come find me and really want me
Slap my hand.
to not do it. Yeah.
I would say this should fall into that category of public comment because it's, a question in my mind is this change designed to deal with a problem, or is it just we think it's a good idea?
I think it's,
Well, everything's going to ultimately fall
What
under
the-
a public hearing
yeah.
anyway, right?
this is, the example you're using is something that's really not, I don't think, talking, even, it's not intended here.
Not a temporary use anyway.
No, this is not, is to have people living basically in RV permanently. That's the problem it's trying to address. It's not addressing
A temporary.
a temporary thing, and so maybe that's a useful thing to have, I don't know. I mean, I don't know, maybe the town, maybe folks don't think so, but I don't, it's an idea. I mean, I understand what you're talking about. If you feel that that's something that needs to be pulled or whatever, or thrown in. In other words, you could have this modified to say unless it has a temporary use permit. I don't know if Matt wants to go through that, but
We don't want to address that here anyway. I don't think that's beyond the scope of the planning commission anyway. I mean, it's outside, it's not really relevant to what we're...
Okay, I'm sorry, what is,
If the town wanted to adopt some ordinance or something to allow that somebody to use, to live in an RV temporarily, that's sort of not something we would...
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a couple things that would, yeah. I mean, if it's on public street, we have restrictions about how long you can be on the public street to begin with, so that would have to change. But if it's on the private property, yeah, we would have to address that. For some mechanism.
but specifically the change in RMH from permitted to
Prohibited.
prohibited, I mean, to me is a substantive change, and so I want all of these, somehow, I want this really clear to the public.
Right.
Agreed. And I think we made the comment, that absolutely, I did at least, that this should be something that absolutely should be identified as part of the public hearing process.
Because there's a lot of, there's a lot of mobile homes that, mobile home, RV, they could, there's kind of a fine line between them, and I guess that's, this could all of a sudden make someone's living quarters that were okay. And I don't know, maybe it doesn't affect anybody in the mobile home district, but.
It does not.
Not mobile home.
So,
But I think, in reference to Commissioner McCool, the plan is to identify these for public hearing, go through the process to adopt the revised Chapter 16, and then after that, at some point in the future, come back to address these items that have been pulled.
Put her in a
Yes.
bucket.
correct.
So are we
In a
saying,
separate public
so are we pulling this?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it's a change.
Right. Item 7, scheduled uses residential. The use of the term churches was changed to places of worship to cover buildings that are not churches but are used to worship. Is that really under residential?
Yes.
yes.
Such as elementary school or
Ah, okay, gotcha.
And I would comment that that is purely a legal thing. They're very touchy about dealing with places of worship and churches and so on, and codes, and so apparently places of worship is the term.
Seems
of
a
art
broader
these days.
term that's reasonable.
Yeah.
I don't think that,
Right.
Some religious
I think that could
sects
stay in
use
the
the word
code. We don't have to pull that per se, do we?
I would.
No.
I wouldn't. I think it's just, we're just taking something and broadening it a little bit. Okay, item 8, scheduled uses residential. The term CMRS facilities has been changed to telecommunications facilities. Will you remind me what CMRS is?
I think it's cellular mobile radio service, or, yeah.
Okay.
And that's a little bit too specific. So nowadays, so it's just telecommunications.
Okay. Same thing, I would say.
Yeah.
Yes, the churches, right?
Yep.
Number 9, scheduled uses residential. The use of pet temporary care facility has been added to the list and is prohibited in all residential zone districts.
Right, you know where that comes from. Bob knows.
This
Right,
place over here.
right.
That was permitted by special use for a while there, right? Was that what that was?
well,
Or not exactly?
not exactly. no.
Okay.
Are we pulling that one?
No, I mean, well, we're at, so,
Because it's an existing,
It's not existing anymore.
it has been added to the list and is, well, what do you mean it's not existing anymore?
It was, I
Yeah,
don't
already
believe it was
changed.
part of the,
It was changed previously?
No, I was saying the physical presence of the pet daycare is not there anymore, my understanding.
right.
No, I just meant in here, in the code, it's a change.
It's a change.
It's a change, so it should be pulled, right?
It should be pulled.
You could allow it
Okay.
to, no way.
Okay.
Okay, item 10, scheduled uses commercial. The BTC district has been deleted. We already been through that.
Right.
Number 11, scheduled uses commercial. The use of fast food and drive-in restaurants for the BC district has been changed from special use to prohibited. Now, why would we do that?
Well, our thought was, this type of district would be more in a residential, I think was what we were thinking, and fast food restaurants going to have later hours, drive-throughs, so it was more suited for office, small retail. That's what we were thinking.
I would prefer to keep it special. It just gives you the flexibility, because just prohibiting something, it just kind of cuts off all possibility of discussion.
I don't understand the second, I didn't read this yet, but the second sentence of this is, it was felt that community business is more small office and retail with smaller impact on the community. Oh, I get it. So-
Yeah, professional buildings.
So
Right.
later hours, you can sign on traffic at
Small office.
10 instead of stopping at 6.
What's zoned BC right now?
Well, right up here north of the town hall is BC.
Which is,
Where Old Chicago is?
No.
Oh, north, right here.
Yes.
this whole kind of
This
quad
block here.
here is BC.
Well, so what if McDonald's wanted to put a restaurant where the gas station was, and we wouldn't allow that?
Well, under this you could, under the current code you could.
But not with this change.
Right, that's what I'm
we're
saying.
Yeah.
And I'm just
Well,
trying to figure out if
that's
that's
what
really in our
Clint's
best interest to do that.
No, I don't think.
I agree. I think maybe we should maintain as a special.
Keep it as it is?
Keep it
Yeah,
in.
keep it as it is. 'Cause
Yeah, okay.
every there's just so many possibilities of businesses that could come along, and if you just say no, you can't even consider it, then it just shuts it down.
Okay.
So why not just take a look at things individually?
Right.
And that's the only BC location that you're aware of?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
What's the one over where Starbucks
PD.
and the over by Land River? What's that? No,
that is, it's plan development,
Oh,
it's regional activities.
that's right. Yeah.
Can we pull this to discuss later?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I'd like to think about this a little bit.
Okay. Pull it.
Okay.
If this is the only one, and
Yeah.
why?
And maybe make a note.
You only have one down there.
Make a note too, Matt, that we inquired about what
Just
was
asking.
what were the existing BC.
Well, if we're leaning towards not changing it, I mean, we need to.
We're not leaning towards not changing it. You two are leaning towards not changing it. I haven't decided yet. So I'd like to-
You'd like to- you'd like to
I'd
like to
ponder
sleep
it a
on
little
it.
bit.
That's fine.
Okay, that's all.
Pull for public
I haven't
hearing
really
or just
considered that.
future
And if you did-
consideration?
Or if you did,
Sounds like a
That would
sensitive
be
subject.
silent.
To leave it here doesn't mean that you couldn't
I would say we should pull it for public hearing.
rezone the property if somebody came forward, right? I mean, you
Well,
just
that's-
go through the
I think the
rezoning
public input on
process.
this would be very helpful to our decision process. so.
Yeah, there are mechanisms to get around zoning issues. I
Right.
mean, it's just a little additional work.
If
to
it's
do
the
it.
right thing,
Right.
that everybody really wants to go there.
Yeah.
Okay, item 12. The uses is for secondary residences was accidentally missed on the revised code. The current code has it prohibited in the B-C, B-R, and B-O districts, and a special use in the MU district. Secondary residences?
Yeah.
Quarters.
So,
Quarters for people living out
What's secondary
Building
residence?
a-
it's,
garage apartments.
it's, somebody has a basement that they've converted to an apartment, or,
Yeah. Apartment over a garage.
somebody's renting out rooms.
Could throw a loft up over the Conoco. Is that what you're telling me?
The side business.
I'm just
Not
saying.
in the back.
It's in the,
The car
oh,
wash.
the current code, the uses for, was actually missed. So I'm sorry, I still don't understand this, I guess. The schedule of uses, the uses for secondary residence was accidentally missed in the revised code. Currently, it's prohibited. Are we saying it's allowed?
It's in the
just didn't
current
put the line. He
code.
just
See,
didn't
you can
type
see
the
it right
line.
here.
It's in the current
It's in the current
code.
code already. But when the attorneys drafted the revised, they forgot to include this restriction.
So we're adding it.
So we want it back in there?
It's already in the current code, so.
Okay,
we just-
I'm with you.
it was
Just put it
missed,
back in.
So we put it.
Put it back in.
And Matt, this is probably an appropriate time, since we're jumping into this, when I
Yeah.
said that there were a lot of differences.
Sure.
I have to apologize, because I guess I've been looking at the code too long, and I've got even an older version of the code
Oh,
than
okay.
this one that I had on my computer. And I was analyzing this against probably the revision before this one. And
Well,
so-
yeah, it's getting confusing.
Yeah, so I will probably just, I'm going to need to go back through, and I might, maybe the next meeting, I mean, what I'd like to do, and what I intended to do, and now I did it wrong, was to just make sure that these are all correct.
You know, it may be a good exercise to, before we jump to Article 7 anyway, to spend some time, maybe the beginning of the next meeting or something, specifically going through the tables.
Yeah, that's what I tried to do today, and I did it against the wrong.
Because I haven't had an opportunity to do that either, and I just wonder if maybe we shouldn't have staff put together that comparison of the tables or something. I don't know. What
It
do you
takes
think?
about an hour. It took me an hour to get through,
Because if there's substantive or material changes in these, based on what you think, I think we'd like to understand that. You know, if we're changing,
As far as the schedule of uses and
Yeah.
requirements?
yep,
Okay.
does that seem reasonable?
And
yeah. Or, I mean, we can do it tonight.
when I
Because I'm not sure
drafted the
that-
memo,
Otherwise, all 9 of us,
those are pointed, I think I got all of them, and they're pointed out in the memo.
okay, all right. If you think you did it already,
Yeah,
then-
I'm happy to go back.
I mean, I just want to do due diligence on our part to make sure that the chart is right, that's all. I mean, that's why we're doing this. I mean,
yes.
part of it is to have more eyes on it, to make sure something didn't get,
Okay, so if you
Yes.
think you've identified them, fine.
I mean, Fred's gone through it also, but like I said, I'm happy to go back and create, we can go back and create just on the charts from the
Do you
current
think
code.
do you think that's useful? Is my question. If we have staff do that.
I mean, sure, I mean, I'm going to do it anyway, but, I mean, I'll do it as well, I don't mind, so. If I see anything next meeting, I'll bring it up,
Okay.
but
Then
I'm okay with,
let's stick with it this way.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not trying to make more work for you.
Yeah.
I don't want to. So, schedule of, we're on 13, right?
13,
Schedule of uses,
yep.
industrial use. The term small daycare was changed to child care center, and the term large daycare was deleted. We've talked about this, I think, once before or something. But anyway, that's, we don't have any heartburn over that, right? Schedule of use, industrial use, the use of sexually oriented.
Hold on
Sorry,
just a second.
back up.
It was done in industrial, but then in commercial, page 45, it wasn't changed in commercial. That was a question I had, was do you want to do the same thing in the commercial zone or commercial mixed-use districts table?
Yeah. You've got small daycare and
You've got small total care, large total care lines in there. Do you want to just get rid of those as well?
Okay,
Good catch.
that's, I discussed that with the attorney.
yeah, what total care is that?
And I think if we're going to make, yes, what's the difference between total care and child care?
It's total care, elderly care? What's total care?
Well, that's why they took those out, because they've changed the definition, and they've got,
Well, above
Said
it,
family
you've got
care.
family care, so, yeah, there's too many
Oh,
categories.
yes, family care, small total care, large total care,
right,
and then there's no specific child care.
Yes, there
Yeah, it is up top.
Oh, yes, there is child
Two
care
or
centers.
three.
Right. Yep, got it.
I think total care is,
So large total cares is defined as community-based residential facilities intermediate care institutions and nursing care institutions.
We've got a 24-hour.
But should we make some distinction between small and large?
And
If you're making,
then-
And am I reading right that you took the note out? It was in the old code that described it? There's no note, right? There used to be a note
Right.
2 that described small total care and large total care. That's gone.
And now it's included in the definitions for the
It's
revised.
included in the definitions. I believe you, where is that?
It's
Up in
at the
front.
front of the document.
In the front of the document?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Well, so 13 is really talking about small daycare,
Right.
not this total care thing.
right, no, yeah, we kind of jumped off of
Okay.
things, and I was trying to get back to 13, but you bring up a good point about the total care, which is an existing language, right? It's existing language, it didn't change, right? Family care, home, small total care,
Yeah, that's the small total care and large total care are,
they were existing, right?
yeah, and child care center are all existing.
So he didn't feel any reason to change the total care
Right,
description.
even though he's changed the description of
Child
child
care.
care.
Okay, so maybe there's no issue, okay. Sorry.
Well, maybe there is, but
We can follow up.
let's go back to 13. So
No, that's
the
right.
term small daycare was changed, child care center, we're fine to
Yeah.
large day, to just,
Yeah.
okay.
No way.
14, the use of sexually oriented businesses was changed from special use to prohibited in the I through L district.
So, we have, thought there was, we have light industrial and heavy industrial zonings. We have to allow for this use in a particular zone. And so the thought was, it should be in the
Wait,
heavy.
why, you say you have to allow it?
Has to be allowed?
By state law.
Oh, really?
We can't just,
So
can't pull them out of
previous-
your town.
Every town has to have some area designated where.
How about the
Potentially.
how about the EOC district?
Yeah.
And there is no I-8 zoning in the town.
Current.
So, currently.
So it's allowed under it, but there's no land.
So they have to come and get a zoning change and.
They have to get a zoning change, go through the public hearing.
I mean, this should be pulled, but yeah, I mean, it makes sense
Yes.
to me, but.
Yeah, it should be pulled.
Yeah.
15, scheduled uses, agriculture and open spaces, there were no changes. Okay. 16, scheduled requirements. Excuse me. Residential districts, the maximum building height in the RM district was changed to from 32 to 35 feet. It was felt 35 feet is a reasonable height limit for the typical RM district.
And mine
Are we,
is-
we're pulling this anyway, right?
Right. My assumption is all these would probably be.
Yes.
pulled, But
Okay. Schedule requirements, residential, the requirement for maximum number of stories was deleted. This was deleted for all districts in the schedule requirements. It is covered by the maximum building height. Right? Okay, yep. I assume that's going to be pulled as well. Schedule of requirements, number 18, residential districts, the maximum lot coverage for the RL and RM districts has been changed to from 30 to 40%, as it felt the current requirement is low.
And this is going to be, we're going to discuss this
Sure.
at our next meeting.
Right.
And in that request, we're talking about lot coverage, and we're talking about setbacks.
We,
Is that right?
He
We're talking
has
about height?
side yard setbacks
Uh-huh.
for interior lot line and abutting streets, maximum lot coverage are the two items they listed.
When you
And-
put,
Well, and should we be talking, should we also be talking about height in this as well? Even though he didn't request it?
It's not in the letter that he requested.
I'm just saying, if we're going to
But,
go
yeah.
through the public hearing process and all that.
But we have these others that are going to go through a public hearing process. The question is, we've got like,
Where do you draw the line?
yeah,
Yeah.
how much do you want to put on the plate? I think you just deal with the requests at
Okay.
hand. Matt, when you put together that packet, are you going to put together some like addresses that we could drive by and look at or walk around, and just as a example of here's a subject property that might be impacted by this change?
I think the thought
That was
there,
grandfathered, though, wouldn't it? Anything that's existing is grandfathered anyway, one way or the other.
Right. So you're talking about empty lots. But
Or
your example would be,
Right.
Scraping
your
remarks.
example could be something that this is your typical 30% coverage, and this is a property that's a 40% coverage, so you get an idea what we're talking about, but
so there's, Original Town is the only part in town that has specific zoning, just straight zoning, medium density residential, it's not a PD. His addresses two zones, the medium density and the low density. So we can identify those areas in town that have those zonings, and that way we can, I don't know.
Well, I don't know if we can come up with an example. We'd have to think about that.
Well, maybe that's
See,
too specific. Maybe just the areas, maybe just the, little cutout of the
We'll
zoning
definitely
map.
identify the
Okay,
areas.
that's fine.
Well, I think you bring up one good point, and that is we may still want to evaluate this, weigh this in relation to the character of the current neighborhood.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to do.
So, and because I don't know, it may be that residents will feel there's some compromise as opposed to one way or the other or something. I don't know.
You might
But it might
start
be worth,
off by
just as you say,
taking a
walking through. And
good
just-
look at the zoning map. Does everyone have a colored zoning map? And where
We'll
R,
include that
where RM
as part of the package.
is in original Superior?
Okay.
So we'll include that.
Okay.
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 While we're in this section, there's a note number 9, detached garages may be a maximum of 1 story and 18 feet in height. Are those two separate statements? Is that meaning that it can be 1 story and it can be no higher than 18 feet? Is that what that's?
Which note are you looking at, Bob?
Note
9.
number 9, page 51 of the document we're looking at. Part of the residential districts.
See you later. We're going to put all kinds of crazy stuff in here now, just so you're leaving.
And it's on the existing code, it's 1682, 16-82. And again, as I was telling you, there weren't page numbers on the code. Again, I was looking at that old code. It's-
Right, yeah.
yeah.
Right there at the bottom.
So it's right here. So that's how it reads in the current code, but...
What does it mean? 1 story and it can't be beyond 18 feet?
Well,
Right,
yeah, that's what it means, but to be consistent, if we're not going to have, like, according to this, suggestion, that stories were to be deleted, it should be deleted out of the note.
But that one's was pulled for a public hearing, so we'll address
Right.
note 9 at the same time we address that,
Other stuff.
as far as removing the number of stories allowed.
Okay. Just putting a maximum height on it?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to suggest that.
Does the lot coverage percentage include a detached garage? I assume it would,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, a detached garage as well. Any improvement
Right.
Okay.
sheds the whole deal.
Got it.
I mean, considering what's being looked at for next to Original Town, and, these garages with rooms all above them, whether it's detached or not, if it fits within height requirements, it's like a reasonable thing to allow people to do. But
Okay. 19, commercial districts, BTC districts, oh, we did that, right?
Okay.
20, schedule requirements, commercial districts, the 10-foot rear yard setback has been deleted from the image district because it's designated for the BTC district.
There was a specific setback for that district, which if we delete that district, it's no longer.
It's not relevant.
Right.
Got it. Schedule of requirements, commercial districts, note 4 was deleted because it had to do with the BTC district. What was note 4?
There is no thing.
4 was.
Rear yard setback requirements is 10 feet where adjoining property is zone BTC.
Is that 20 and
25 feet
21
were
redundant
adjoining.
then? Are items 20 and 21 redundant? Yeah, I think you just addressed it twice.
Yeah.
Schedule of requirements, industrial districts, there were no changes. That's item 22.
Yeah, I got, just, hang on a minute. Under this the new code, page 52, the notes I have are numbered not in sequence.
Right, yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's
That'll
not
be
a
after.
4.
So that means up in the chart, they have to be changed also. You see that? It jumps from 3 to 5, 6.
4 was deleted, and it wasn't renumbered.
Right,
So can
that
you-
means you have to change up in the chart.
Right, so Matt, you make it just a clerical note about that, right?
Yeah.
You'll get the renumbering.
Okay. .22, scheduled requirements, industrial districts, there were no changes. Is that true, Bob?
I'll tell you next week.
Okay.
You
23,
didn't get that
scheduled,
far, right, Bob?
No, I did, but,
Oh,
no,
good.
actually, I didn't. I stopped at,
You said you stopped at
yep, I
residential.
did. I didn't get that far, so it wasn't work done wrong.
sorry, number 23, scheduled requirements, agricultural and open space districts, the side yard setback requirement was accidentally deleted and will be added back in at 25 feet for the A, UR, and OS-R, and not applicable for OS-N. This is a requirement currently allowed in the code. As long as if it's consistent with the current code.
Yeah.
All right, fine, okay.
Consistent.
24, section 16-6-130, accessory uses, the reference to home occupation was deleted because a home occupation must be in the primary residence. And so you can't use it in you can't have a home occupation in an accessory building? Is that
Right.
the theory?
Correct.
So does that mean you can't operate a business out of your garage?
A wood chop out of your shed in the backyard.
You can, well,
More than likely.
Well, if it's
Well, if
if it's a detached or garage.
detached,
you couldn't set up an office in that garage and work out of it? Is that what this is saying?
I mean, you've got tons of violations in this town.
right.
So, I mean, I just want to make sure we know what we're saying here.
If it's an attached garage, I believe.
I think we ought to discuss that with,
We're going to pull that one.
That whole thing needs to be pulled. I mean, you got some home-based businesses in this town, both original and Rock Creek. You got basements, you got garages, you got wood shops, you got metal shops, plumbing.
Section 16-6-130, accessory uses, the language regarding the renting of rooms was deleted. It is covered under Chapter 10 of the Superior Municipal Code and therefore is not needed.
That was an attorney.
What is the language regarding the renting of rooms? Just because that's probably equally as in this town as the other.
Hey, we're going to go look at the Superior Municipal Code.
Do we allow the renting of rooms?
Yeah, sure.
Do it?
Because you can have up to, 3 or 4 unrelated people living in under one house.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Can't see that far.
I remember when this came up.
That's okay.
Okay.
So, okay.
In fact,
I don't think
I
it
found it.
It's,
I've got it
it's,
right here.
it can be stricken from this, right? Or do we?
Push it through, or do we bucket it?
I'm fine with it, leaving it this way.
No, no, fine. I was more curious. That was curiosity.
Again, difficult to enforce anyway, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
and so we're certainly going to enforce it out of the land use code. So, home occupation, sections 9 and 11 of the current code, I'm sorry, section 16-6-140 home occupation, sections 9 and 11 of the current code, page 16-87 were combined under section 9 of the revised code, but no significant changes to the language were made.
So,
I have 16. There you go, 16 right
And why does this say 16, oh, this is the new code? Or no?
this is the current code.
Okay.
there. And so,
Sections 9 and 11.
Oh, okay.
Understood. And so we're leaving all this alone?
so, basically, 9 and 11
Were combined
combined, you get, I think, number 9
of the revised.
of the revised,
Right.
which is a little thicker paragraph, but not much. I mean,
Definitely an opportunity for education.
Okay.
I mean, I think this definitely.
A lot of
should be
the stuff
in front
going on in town,
This definitely
so.
should be pulled for the public hearing,
Yeah,
don't you think? I mean,
yeah, I do.
I mean, almost if for no other reason, just get it out there because, you know, I mean, I think people don't even know they're in violation. I mean, there are people who didn't know they weren't allowed to have chickens because they had chickens for, I mean, there are people who have things.
now they're allowed to have chickens,
Now we're allowed to have chickens.
except in not Rock Creek.
No, not Rock Creek.
Because
Well,
the
you-
HOA doesn't
the HOA doesn't allow it,
doesn't
but-
allow livestock.
Right. But I mean, they're just uses that have been going on since before Rock Creek even came along.
Sure.
And I think people don't even know they're in violation.
So I think there's some chicken coops over there.
So let's review this
Yeah.
later. That's 20.
Now they're putting them out there.
And 27, section 16-6-150, uses not itemized. Language was added that states no metal buildings are allowed in any zone district unless approved by the town. This was added to maintain the aesthetics of the community. Let's tear down that ice rink.
Except for that.
Well, and I'd say the other problem is you haven't run into composite buildings yet.
Yeah.
When you do, you're going to have that argument. So I can tell you right now, because I've seen it tested.
So does this mean metal sheds that you buy at Home Depot are not allowed in original town?
Yeah, you know, looking back on this,
Seems like an HOA rule.
yeah,
More than
well, no, the idea, I think, was there, though, is because if people have had problems with things blowing apart in a big wind, that was why.
Well, you know, the difference between an engineered metal building like that one,
Right.
like the ice rink,
Right.
and the old tin flimsy garden shed, you know, that's
So really
they're two
engineered.
totally different deals,
Yeah, they're
in my
just
opinion.
10 sheds.
Not that you
They're
can say, not that architecturally I love a metal building, but it's an adequate structure as opposed to that which is, as you said, blown away in the high wind and is not an adequate structure.
But you can, I lived in Sagamore, and I had a metal shed behind, the side of my house, and I had it anchored to the house, and I mean, it sustained a number of hurricane winds and, didn't blow away. So to me, I think it should be a public comment thing, if anything, but to me, it goes a little too far.
yeah, I guess personally, after reading it again and thinking about it, either public hearing or just delete it.
Oh, I think it should go before the public hearing, and it could be in there as the intent is to delete it, but I think it should be commented on whether that's.
Right.
Well, it's not, according to, in the draft, it's not intended to delete it, but you used to have a use permit, but maybe that's,
It says no
Too much.
motor buildings are allowed in any zone districts.
yeah.
Right.
So like a lot of
recommending
industrial
it, does it?
stuff is going out composite where they're standing soon.
Not allowed except as
System.
a use permit.
That one I don't.
I just think it gets way too specific. I mean, there's a lot of things that can blow around and hurt you during a
Right.
windstorm. I mean, trash cans and everything else. I mean, it just gets.
Well, this was aesthetics related. At least that's.
Well, there's another, it was also,
a safety.
So-
It's a safety reason. Yeah.
And this is being added.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It should be commented
It's
on.
not
That's
in
my
the
point,
current.
right?
right.
It should go. It should be
If we're going to leave it, then it should be commented.
Or
Or could we
Or you
just,
could just say, the heck with it,
take it
which I
out.
think Clint is
I
arguing.
would say to heck with it, because, I mean, why do we want to spend, half an hour listening to everybody, argue what we're all saying here? I mean, I think that's kind of our job, is to call this down so we don't have these, these,
I'm not opposed to deleting it.
I would say delete it, because we're going to hear an earful, and I think we're all kind of leaning towards getting rid of it anyway.
I'd say get rid of it.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
strike it.
Okay. So that's that for Article 6, right? Okay.
The other purpose for giving you the entire compare document is so that we could plan our future meetings, kind of flash forward
Yep.
to see what the upcoming articles look like as far as length, and try to determine how many we want to cover.
7 is not very long, is it?
It is not. It's basically two pages.
What page does 7 start at?
57.
57.
Well, 56, 57, 58.
Okay.
Well, it's really 56 and 57, right?
Yeah.
And then we go to Article 8, which is,
Article 8 is about 10 pages.
Very longer,
so we could do 7 and 8 next time?
right.
Does that seem reasonable?
Yep,
Yeah.
Okay.
fine.
I'm good with that.
And then for the next packet, we will reference section numbers rather than page numbers of the current code. And then is there any,
Matt, I'm okay either way. Like I said, I was looking at the previous version of the code, which did not have page numbers. I don't think I care.
okay.
Yeah, I would go with the section numbers because my code, which is the codified one I get,
A little different.
yeah, it's got a
Yeah.
different, I'm off by about 3 or 4 pages.
Okay,
Could-
that's good.
Could you provide a summary, or just tell us the things that are in the buckets that we've previously done, Articles 1 through
Right.
5? And we can include 6 now. Just tell us, just so we go things, and because maybe you have some question from us, whether we should pulled it for public comment or thrown it in the attorney's question, and maybe we should just revisit those since we sort of
That's a
have a
good
plan
idea.
now.
So we end up with 2 lists.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something
I
that
think
we
I
want
would
the
like
attorney
to.
to comment on, and maybe we can resolve that here and get rid of it,
Yeah.
is what you're saying.
Yes.
The others, not, we need a hearing on those.
Right.
Right.
So there's 2 lists.
Yep.
Okay, that'd be good.
And we're going to just continue to work off of this document? You won't provide us another compare document?
Unless you need
No,
another
I mean, I'd rather just be
copy.
working through one.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
That way you have all your notes on the
Right.
one. and-
Right.
yeah.
This
Yeah,
one.
so if we could do that, that would be, I would just like to, like I said, it's been so long since we even looked at those.
And it's
I
good,
could-
good.
We could go back and look
Look
and
at
just see what we had.
for public hearing, and then for when we produce this for the town board, to have those lists.
Well, we'll have that, yeah, we kind of keep that running list going, and then, because then we may decide, okay, for the public hearing, we want to look at, we're going to adopt the code or the sections of the code at a time, and then we're also going to do public hearings on this bunch of stuff, because we might need 2 or 3 public hearings to get through this, right?
Right.
Or
We're
more.
going to classify areas.
Does that seem a good idea?
And then, in addition to the next meeting to this, we have the George Kupner's public hearing for his requested changes.
Is that scheduled? Is that the next meeting?
Yep.
Okay.
And why are these work sessions instead of meetings?
This?
Yeah. Originally, we were,
Say regular meeting, because we're,
Well,
is this being recorded? And
Yeah,
Is
it's-
it available
it's
to the public?
broadcast.
it's being broadcast live, and then it's, so there's tape available, and it's web streams available for it.
Excellent, okay.
But just with the type of discussions that go into this, minutes are difficult for one, and if we don't have a quorum for 2, we're not taking any action, is the third
Okay.
formal action.
I think I was more concerned to make sure it was being
These-
broadcast.
Yeah.
just for my own curiosity, these are stored on a server here, right? The videos, because they're available online.
Right.
Is there like a disaster recovery too, where there's backup somewhere else?
We
Of
do
the servers?
have, we have 2, we have external hard drives that all the server information is backed up to daily, and then we have offsite also on top of that,
Okay.
backup, daily
Okay, so
backup.
somewhere else there's some other
Right.
backup, so, okay. So for future posterity, somebody could reference these way back.
And then we have tape. We record everything to tape or DVD, which we keep.
But if everything, my point was, if everything was here, you don't really have backup. Because if this building burns down, everything's lost, right?
Yeah, it's, so offsite, and then we have a fire safe that information's kept on, and then the tapes are stored separately in the storage unit. So basically 3 kind of disaster recovery.
A tornado rips through here. Or a 200-mile-an-hour wind. That's right.
We'll twist that siren system.
So, okay. Anything else? Nothing exciting to report? Okay, we're done. Thank you.